Base resonator here. My son went to Cancun a couple years ago, and he came back with this cute little dish, and it got sand all over it. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I could make a mold of that. First, let me get these shells and things off. So I used my heat gun because I knew they had used a glue gun to put the shells on there. Well, as I started peeling it off, this is paint with sand in it. And so when I started pulling the shells off, it pulled off some of the texture. And I'm like, oh no, that's not cool. So I made my mold, and if you look right here, that texture is not there. And bummer. So I had to put shells over the same area that the original was in, but I've got a way to fix that. But what I used was Let's Resin Magic Pour, which is like a plaster of Paris type stuff, to recreate it. And then I added little shells around the bottom just because I thought it looked cool. But when you lift the lid and turn it over, the original has a sandy texture, and this one, because it has this open area, doesn't have anything. I thought, well, how can I fix that? Here's what I'm gonna do. This time, instead of using Magic Pour powder, and this is kind of deep, I'm going to use sand, and I've got some nasty sand here. It's got a bunch of dirty chunks of rock and stuff. It's from sand blasting equipment that my brother had. He goes, here, you can have some of this sand. So I'm gonna I'm gonna put that through a sieve and get out the big chunks, and then I'm gonna use some of this light brown sand, but I don't like this color necessarily, so I'm gonna mix it with that and come up with my own version. But then after it cures, I'll pull it out, and this area here, I'll be able to put a little bit more resin and put some sand in there, so I'll have that sand all the way through. That's my goal. So I got some work to do. I'll come back to you when I am done. This to me is not sand. So that's what I used. I used a colander and I got that big chunks out. So I'm left with sand now. There's still some darker color to it, and that's what I don't like so much. So that's where I'm going to be mixing this. It says light brown sand. I dream of Jeannie with a light brown sand. Yes, okay. So I'm going to mix those two, and then mix up some resin, pour a little bit of the clear in here to make sure it gets all the way down. This is the pot part, and I want to make sure I get resin all the way down to the bottom. I know sand, once I put sand and resin mixed together, the sand will start flowing down into that, and even if I have a little bit of a clear edge, that's not a big problem. But I want to be able to make sure I get sand or resin all the way to the lip of the container, the pot. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be mixing up some resin in just a bit, and I will actually I'll mix these two sands together and come up with, I don't know where I'm going to put them, but I'll put them, I know, I'll throw this out, put it out in the garden, and then I will put the mix of this and this in there, and I'll have it ready to put in with my resin. Okay, that's where I'm going next. Thought I'd show you my mixing, how I'm deciding to mix this. Put a little bit of cute little bucket. A little bit of this sand and a little bit of this sand. This yellow or light tan is very fine compared to this, but this coarse stuff that I've got in my left hand in the little bucket is from sandblasting, so they expect bigger grains. Don't know how much I'm going to use, but I think I'm going to use quite a bit. I want there to be a lot of sand, so I'm not using quite as much resin, but so that it looks like sand as well in the finished piece. Ooh. Don't kick the bucket, or let the bucket kick you. Okay, so then, whee! Well, I'm just bumping everything here. Just stir this up a little bit, and I'll have, instead of this dark brown sand, I'll have a goldish sand. Now, I do know that once I mix this in with the resin and I pour it into the mold, that heavier sand is going to sink down towards the bottom, so it's going to probably be a two-tone. I don't know how much is going to sink, but it could end up being a two-tone sand feature, which would be okay. If I were to have gone down to South Padre Island, which I don't live too awfully far, but there's a whole bunch of crazies down there during a holiday time. They're building sandcastles, and they have this big contest right now, so it's kind of cool, but not doing that. So now mixing up resin time, and then mixing it all together, coming up with a new piece, which should be a lot of fun. Okay. Should have probably done that, but now. I've mixed up my resin. I'm using Resin Pro. What is it? I Crystal 5. It's a deep pour. Not a super deep, but deep enough. So I'm going to pour a little bit in. Like I said earlier, I want to get at least the edge of this. This is the container itself. This is the lid. I want to make sure there's resin all the way down them. If any bubbles happened, I want to get them gone. Now, I'm hoping I don't make this major mess. How did I do that? There we go. I squeezed the edge of this paper bowl, and I know there are going to be bubbles erupting from this sand. Oh, that it looks cool. Looks like gigantic fingers. Okay, I'm going to mix up that and see what happens. Like I said, bubbles. And I'm not even mixing very fast, but that's just the nature of sand. There's so many different sides. Each one of those little pieces of sand, wow, that's craziness. I'm hoping, this being a very thin resin, that those bubbles will release. But even if they don't release totally, if it's already going to be a pardon the pun here, porous nature. See what I did there? that if there's a bubble on the surface of the container itself, not going to matter that much. Now, the question is, do I let that release, or just go ahead and pour? How about I do this? Get rid of the initial set of bubbles along the top. And if not enough sand is getting in there, I'm going to have to just dump some sand straight in on that, because not very much went. This is mostly, maybe this was not a good idea. Maybe this is the way I should have done it. Maybe so. I think I'm going to have quite a bit of resin left over. I'm going to have to find some more molds. Oh, grody. Got my hand in some resin there. Good thing it was on the glove. Now I don't want to fill it all the way to the top of this. When I was making the mold, I thought the container was heavy and it would sit right there. No, it floated, so I had to cut out about almost a centimeter through the silicone to get to it. And so that's right about where I need it to be. Put a little bit more sand right there so that it'll sink and cover the bottom of this container. Okay, wipe this stick off, set it aside, and pop these bubbles. You know, I said I set that aside, and I'm going to need to really get after it, using it. Okay, now to find another mold. Be right back. I have these tea light candle holder molds, so I'm thinking I'm right in the way with my hand, aren't I? See, that's what I was hoping the consistency would have been for these containers. And the container and the lid. I decided to drip off the edge. Get that? Still have some more in there. Taking every precaution possible not to touch my bare hand to this resin. Let you see what I'm doing. Scoop it out. Okay, I got a couple spots where I spilled some. That'll clean up easily enough once it cures up. And now to let this sit and put this extra back in my container. Yep. Okay, I decided I have too much resin in these, so I'm using a little silicone cup to siphon it off and put it over into this candle holder. And then when I get this to where I want it to be, then I will pour the rest of the sand into the sandal holder, the candle holder. Into the sandal holder. Now this is going to have a little bit of resin around the edges, which is okay, because it's this brownish color that the sand is giving off. Oh, good thing I've got a silicone mat. And I'll show you one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to put this little silicone cup into that big container. Now, oh, this has got some weight to it. In case there are any bubbles hiding around down below. This should get them started coming towards the top. They're already getting little bubbles that are collecting around the top, which is good. Those will be easy to pop. All around the mulberry bush, pop go the bubbles. That's getting kind of full too, and that, I don't know if you can see, well, I don't want to zoom in. It's got about a 1/4 inch of clear, which is not real clear. It's this sandy colored resin. Oh, Sandy. Sad thing to hear Olivia Newton-John passed. I mean, we all, yeah, there comes a time when we're all gonna go, but she was always kind of fun to watch in Greece, and I never watched Xanadu, but heard about it. John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John. I remember seeing that. That came out, what was that, 1977, 78, somewhere around there. The end of my high school years. Yeah, I just gave away my age. Well, sort of. Okay, now I'll pop bubbles and I will come back to you after it's all cured up. Well, these seem to be hardened up. We will find out. Now this, the last time I did this, I was using that plaster type of material, not resin, and it sounded like I was ripping because of the texture of this mold. It has that sand. It doesn't sound so much like ripping, it just sounds. Oh, come on now. That's that little bit of resin that was on there. And I was transferring stuff over to that other mold. It still sounds kind of cool to me. Oh, there's a little bit more of that stuff. Well, the texture is definitely sandy. And it just looks like wet sand down on the beach. But it's not wet. It's done cured. Now this is the one, remember, this is the top where I removed those shells and it left a mark. So this is the mark that it left, and what I'm planning on doing is putting a little bit of resin in here with some more sand. And when that's cured up, then I will do this bottom side. So yeah, we're all set. And we got sandy crumbs. This sound. I don't know what that is. I'll get it later. Oh, that's that little bit of leftover resin from when I emptied it into that other, the candle, tea light candle holder. Oh, this is fun to get out. Sorry about that. The door just opened and talking ensued, and I was like, no, can't have that in the video. This is, I remember this is the way I got it the last time. Just peel it back, and then, can you see that texture here? Sandy. Yes. Little pieces of resin that from when I went over to the other. Okay, and then flip this back around. There. Mold. Mold. Yeah, this is gonna be so cool. And then that just fits right on top. Got a little container. This is heavy. You know, I'll tell you how heavy it is. I got a scale right here. That is 13 ounces. Okay, now the tea light candle. Oh, this, you can tell somebody else made this mold, not me. Mine's all super hefty and thick, and this has got a real thin covering on it. And smooth. Look at that. That's really pretty. It doesn't look like sand so much, but wow, cool. Now, I have some doctoring up on this one, so I'm not done with this video yet, but I will take my time right now and say thank you to my subscribers and to all of those who have bought me a coffee. I could use some more coffee. And get the word out. I'm here. I'm trying to do my best and be entertaining as well as being an instructor in some resin techniques that maybe you have not done these things. Making your own molds. I did not do the video on how to make this, but I showed you that I did make it. Mar and all. That was really funny because mar is how you say sea in Spanish. So mar and all. So yeah, get the word out and have the friends subscribe to my channel. It's a free subscription, and if you click on the little bell, then every time I put out a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch. Some are shorts and some are longer, like this one. Okay, get to work on this just a second. Actually, I will show you what I'm doing right here, because some of you might not know some of these little techniques. Packing tape. If you've got stuff that's fallen off, pieces of resin, or in this case resin and sand, just get that packing tape. If you're working on a silicone mat, comes up super slick, and you have a clean surface again. People can come in and go, what are you doing? And you don't have to be embarrassed of your work surface or your work area. And if you have a mold, or I'll show you one other. I can't show you what I did, but if you have a silicone mixing cup, after you've poured your resin, you let it cure up, and the chunk that'll be sitting on the bottom, you just push on the bottom a little bit, it'll come right loose. You pull it out, and any of the little droplets on the side, packing tape, you're set. So, cool little tip. I'll get back to you when I'm ready to do the top here. I have decided I'm going to go the quick route and use UV resin. I won't have to use very much. Let me move this guy over a little bit. And I've got some loose sand over here in this little pot. Now, a lot of this is probably going to get covered up with some different shells and stuff, but it would be nice to have it look somewhat similar to the rest. So let me take it up to the edges. And this is all that space where those shells were hooked so well with that hot glue that on the original piece that they just tore that paint right off. Felt bad, but I glued it back on. So. Okay, now this little has like a little spatula end, but on the other side it's got a little scoop. So I'm going to use the scoop. Scoop, there it is. For those of you that have seen the little short video that I made on my dog Titan, he just got back from a walk with my wife. So if you heard something loud, it was probably his leash. He was coming unleashed. You know, I don't know why I'm doing it like this. I could have just poured it. Nah, then this way I'm in more control. If I just dumped it on there, it would be in a big pile in one spot and not so good in the others. So I'm looking for that same type of sandy texture as I've got there. I'll pat this down in just a second. And I'm expecting it to overflow that little area right here that's kind of low anyway. Just dumped some sand on the floor. That was really good. Working around a tripod is a trip, to say the least. I keep soaking it in, which is good. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I think I got that texture pretty well. Now I'm going to tap it down with this. And hope that when it cures it'll go to the same color as the one that's there. If not, I will definitely be covering up this section with some shells. It was kind of glossy right in that area. See, and it is going to go over the top right here. Maybe I got a little heavy-handed with that UV resin. Okay. I'll do my quick, and I don't know if that's bubbles or just sand particles sticking up. I'll do the quick cure. Look away, Dixieland, if the light's going to offend you. This is my Let's Resin UV flashlight, the higher powered one. They come with, in some of the UV kits, they come with a little tiny one that uses AA batteries. This, you plug it into a USB to recharge it, which is nice. That's just staying dark, which is okay. Like I said, I can put shells over the top, but at least this way it's got the same texture everywhere. Okay, that's not going to go anywhere, so I will put it under the big lamp right now, and I'm not going to let you sit there and have to endure that amount. This is all cured up under the bigger lamp, and I have some shells. One of my students was down at the island and he goes, "Sir, I brought you some shells." So Rodrigo, thank you. I won't say your last name, but and I got some gravel here in case I don't know which ones I'm going to use of these shells, but I want it to look kind of cool. And then to fill in little gaps, I've got that little bits of gravel. But remember, the underside, it needs some sand. So here we go again. Now this time I can pour it because there's a little lip. Okay, so I guess if I really wanted it to stay the exact same color, I could mix up some other resin, but I'm going the quicker route today. Dump all of that in there. That's going to have to be washed out. Set you in there for right now. I don't know why. Maybe this looks like sugar to me. The little crystals of sand. But just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Or just a spoonful of sand helps the UV resin stay in place. Or vice versa. Now, don't have to worry about that going anywhere, so I'm just going to put it under the big lamp right now. I'll be right back. Okay, that's all. It looks wet, but it's not. That's didn't have enough sand in that area. But now Looks good there, except now we've got to get some shells and such upon this lid. I'm just going to put a very thin layer. And then this shell, all of them have these little lines that go this way, but this one goes the other way. Instead of lines going towards the bottom, they go around the side, so I definitely want to have that one. Gotta have some little ones over here. So these all came from the Gulf of Mexico down at Padre Island, which means Father Island. Oh no! Drop that, at least I can find it right here. Get all these little shells over here. Oh, that's why it was sticking there. My glove had gotten into the UV resin. Okay, now either, oh man, that's really sticky. Got some alcohol on it. Either I can try and fit, yeah, that one will fit in there. And then I'll pour some of these little gravelly things in around it. There's a bug flying around. Put a little bit more there, a little more there, there, and there. And there, I guess. And I cleaned the sand out of this. Some little pieces. I have a toothpick right here. You know, it'd be really good to put some more over in that area. I think I'm going to do just a touch more UV resin over here. I'll clean that nozzle off in just a bit. It's looking kind of ratty. That looks like pumice right there. One little one over there. Oh, that's not little. Huh. It looked little. There's one. Okay, now flashlight again. Guard your eyes. Okay, back under the beast. I'll set it for 90 seconds. I'll put you on pause and come back and show you the finish. Okay, to show you that I cleaned off the nozzle. Now this right here, that's caked on. That's not coming off. So I think it got sealed by the light going on around it, but by UV light going on around it. Okay, so these shells, I have some leftover ones, which is good. Put those in this other bucket with the leftover sand. Got my bucket of sand and a couple shells ready to go. I got a tea light candle holder with sand. It looks really, I mean, that glossy finish is really nice. This mold came from us from Let's Resin. They have a set of 3. This mold is not available. I made that myself. So, and I did not mass produce. I made 1. So, yeah. That's seriously heavy, but it's very pretty. Cool. Seaside Rendezvous. Woo. I don't know if any of you remember that Queen song, but yep. Look like the ocean to you? Maybe? Hope so. That's what it's intended to. Okay. See you next time.